That's what I feel a lot about what's going on in everywhere. That people are leading with their handkerchief and not with their whole self. What they understand about what living is.
I agree 100%. I think that we're just too tribally divided, and people look at it like it's us versus them. They enjoy the comfort of being a part of a tribe. They lock on to whatever ideologies the tribe support, and then anybody who opposes that is somehow or another the enemy. And it's just it's a division tactic that's been used by the people that actually run the government, the actual world itself. The real people of this world, especially the people of this country, have mostly share the same common core needs. You want to be healthy, you want to have a good family, you want to be able to make a living, you want to live in a safe place, you want your kids to be able to go to a good school, you want everybody to prosper and have a good time. That's most of what life is. All this other shit that people get so goddamn caught up in, most of it has very little to do with you. And you get locked into it like it's 100% of your identity, and the next thing you know, anybody who opposes you is Hitler. And it just gets...
That's true.
It gets so toxic.
His name gets bandied about a lot lately, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a good one.
What, but you sort of started it by bringing up that quotation of Hunter's, which is so... And I think about that all the time. I can not... But I think about it regularly. Like, what was that force that movement had, that anti-war movement, whatever that was? It wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect. I think the thing that if I had to regret anything, or anyone regrets anything about it, was the sort of hostility that was shown towards the actual servicemen.
Right.
Most of whom were drafted.
Right.
To fight. So that those service people had an experience that I will never have. I was in a military movie. That's as good as it ever got for me. But there's the thing about being in war together with people is everybody hates war. And who could hate it more than someone that was there?
Right.
But the sort of camaraderie that you had is an experience, I'll never have that. I'll never have that thing that, Rambo had,
Right.
I'll never have that thing. And I don't think that, I think that there could have been more vision about who we're talking to, or who we're talking to about whatever kind of change you want to make. And so that the agents of it are not necessarily the architects, like you say, the people who are making this tribal thing. They're not the agents of it, They're the architects of it. And how do you jump over, or how do you, excuse, or not excuse isn't the word, but how do you
unite,
miss the people that are the agents, who are just people that have a job or whatever it is. They're doing their work to survive and live, whatever it is. How do you get to the architects with whatever you feel is that what could be a shared experience, and get them to sort of dissolve the creation of the tribal world? I think it's you asked a great question. You have people on here, I guess, that know, or think about those things and have the ability to do something about it. I don't think I have the ability to do anything more than something for myself, mostly. It's just.
But you do, because you have the ability to express yourself, and you're an example. And a lot of times when someone's a very reasonable, intelligent person like you, and you express yourself, other people get inspired to maybe re-examine the way they're looking at things.
Well, that's a nice hope. I hope that maybe that'll happen.
I think that's maybe one of the only
right back
things.
at you then. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because part of our problem in this country is that we're in competition every 2 years. Every 2 years you have midterms.
It is crazy.
Elections every 4 years. So
we don't get a break.
No, we don't get a break.
We don't get a break from these people.
No, we don't get a break. We don't get a break from division. We don't get a break from propaganda. We don't get a break from new threats. We don't get a break. It's like every day it's a new thing. And it keeps us completely in this constant state of stress and anxiety, and also this fear of being overcome. Like, your side's going to lose.
Yeah, if I
the
fall
bad
asleep
people
too
are
early
going
tonight,
to. We're going to lose the internet.
I'm supposed to be on watch or something.
Yeah, it's very, very stressful, and it's not healthy for human beings to be constantly in this state of competition and stress. It's bad for, and then on top of that, you have most people are addicted to social media, so you're constantly getting inundated with the worst fucking things in the world all day long, and you're freaking out. It's terrible for you. He was.
I'm having Bill Burr PTSD because that feeling when they put the death ray on you.
Did you? It really bothered you?
No, it didn't bother me. It's just
it's uncomfortable.
Well, I'm not gonna. What do they always say? Don't bring a knife to a gunfight, right? What am I gonna say? You know what I mean?
What was he? Why was he picking on you?
I think because he was uncomfortable about the whole setup. Because at the end of the day, it's my fault. I'm the one who said something in public.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I do bear the responsibility for initiating this insanity.
It's taken a life of its own.
Because I walk through public now, and people are like, "Hey, it's Bill Burr's brother," so he's got to be getting it the other way.
That's hilarious.
You're the brother of that weirdo from the Pumpkins, you know. I don't know.
We were talking about the other night at the club in the green room, and we were convinced it was a bit that you guys were doing together. We were convinced. Well, no one disagreed. No one was like, I think it's real. Most people were like, nah, I think they were fucking around. I think it seemed like they made an agreement.
It's somewhere between a bit and reality, and I think that's where it gets confusing. And that's why I would use the word meta. There's this moment, if you watch it back, where Howie splits and just leaves me and Bill alone. And Howie's, Howie has a band that plays when he does a show. So the gentleman who runs the band starts playing a really sad piano, and Bill just starts riffing. It's just me and him in this room alone. I mean, I don't know Bill at all, and he starts talking about our shared dad, and it gets really weird because on some level it's like it's possible, right?
Right.
Even if it's 1%, it's not a zero.
Right.
So that's where it gets kind of. That's why I say meta. It's like you're looking down a hall of mirrors. And you start almost playing with your mind. You're thinking like, well, it could be possible.
It's also the two of you guys doing this publicly is very pro wrestling, which is what you love. There's something about.
I brought a wrestler with me today who runs the promotions for the NWA.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like there's something about it. It's like, is this kayfabe? You know, is this real? Is this a shoot or is this a work? Like, what is this?
Well, Tommy Dreamer.
I know the name.
Tommy Dreamer, famous ECW wrestler, went on to work for WWE and now works for TNA. Tommy's the classic salty veteran, seen it all, done it all, been split in half and the whole thing. So there's nothing Tommy hasn't seen. And Tommy will say something like, it's all a work. It's all a work. Like, basically, it's the cynical view that everything you see in the world is fake.
Well, if you're a pro
the president is fake, the news is fake. It's all the work. So once you go there cynically, it's hard to back out of that.
Yeah.
So I like the artist in me likes the discomfort.
Yes, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. I really do like the discomfort. I remember watching Andy Kaufman on Saturday Night Live circa 78 or whatever. And it's that idea that you can create a vibration in the room between what's expected and where you're willing to go.
Yeah.
I have this one friend who was a performance artist, and she would do stuff like when she was in college, she would just walk in the cafeteria and take all her clothes. And she would stick a camera in the corner and just film people's reactions. And it was interesting to watch because one guy would just keep eating his food and no sell it. Like, I'm just going to eat my salad and just pretend this isn't happening. Like, every human being goes in a different direction with the weirdness.
Right.
So, as an artist, on a stage, there is this kind of crazy power that you have because depending on what comes out of your mouth next or what you do can affect thousands of people. And then, obviously, through a digital medium, even more. So there's something about flirting with the uncomfortable, but what makes it uncomfortable is it always has a foundation of truth. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do know what you're saying. Yeah.
If it didn't have a foundation of truth, it would just be silly.
Right.
The discomfort comes from like, there's something you're doing that I recognize in myself, or I know somebody that's like this.
Yeah, well, it makes it much more interesting if there's a 1% chance that it's true. If I just think you guys are running a sketch, it's kind of funny. But if it might be true, then it gets to that weird place where it's like, this is
okay. So if I walked out of that room that day after meeting Bill for the first time, and it was a 1% chance, if now that I walk through life, we're up into like the 10 percentile in the public's mind.
Yes.
10% of the public is convinced we're brothers. Even if I sat there and told them, no, it's not true.
More now.
That's okay, but that's what I'm
now
saying.
After this show,
that's why it's like when you say it's a bit, yeah, it's a bit to the extent that you're playing with the idea.
yes,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would be like if I sat down and say, I'm sure you remember the last time I was on your show, but I met you when I was 12, and I told you this whole story about how I met you. Like Carrot Top in his show tells this whole story about meeting Gallagher when he's a kid. Have you ever heard that?
no,
Gallagher is the Carrot Top's hero.
sure,
And he even does like a thing at the end of his show in tribute to Gallagher. He kind of does a watermelon bit or something like that. But he tells this thing in the show about how meeting Gallagher when he was like 14 years old, and Gallagher like actually gave him some advice that inspired him to be who he became. But I mean, for all I know, it's a bit.
right.
But he says it with such earnestness, and it does have some. It feels right, but for all I know, it's just another bit.
Everything's a work.
That's what I'm saying. So if I came here, oh Joe, I met you when I was 12. You were at an airport. You were so nice. You signed an autograph. There's a part of you that would be like, well, it's possible. I mean, you know what I mean?
I got a pretty good memory. I'd be like, what happened? Okay, what do you think is going on with the whole UAP thing?
Dude, I love this fucking conversation.
I love this fucking
It's the
conversation.
most interesting.
I never get tired of it.
Do you want to go the angle of like, what are the crafts, or do you want to go the bigger angle of like, what is the phenomenon?
Okay, let's start with what is the phenomenon?
I think that right now, science and religion and UAP exposure are all converging on similar truths. And what I mean by that is that science, so the science of consciousness, how we don't really know where the fuck consciousness
Right.
comes from.
Right.
But there's a lot of people that start to suggest that it sounds like we're antenna that are receiving consciousness from some sort of consciousness field or some sort of other, like,
Have you read any Thomas Campbell?
no, I don't think
You
so.
should read
Yeah.
the Big Toe, Theory of Everything. It's
yeah.
very bizarre stuff.
I
Very
s-
hard to swallow. You got to go back and listen to it multiple times. Or
I like
read
that
it
kind of
multiple
shit.
times. I had him on the podcast, and at the end of it, I was like, "We got to stop here. And I have to think about everything you said,
Yep.
and then we'll bring you back, and we'll go deeper." Because he wanted to keep going and go deeper and deeper. Like he's been living in these.
It goes and
realms.
goes, dude. Because you're talking metaphysics, you're talking physics, you're talking
Multiverse.
like history and like disclosure about history and dimension. And like I suspect that whatever consciousness is coming from is this multiverse, this consciousness field, this ether, this multidimensional thing, whatever. I suspect that's very similar to what UAPs are traversing in and out of and through. And I suspect that's very similar to what we identify as either the gods plural, the aliens plural that have these abilities we don't have,
Angels and
as well
demons.
as God singular, which is probably the highest up above all of those things. I suspect there's a version of all these things that are starting to converge on one truth, because when you learn about remote viewing, that's what really cracked it for me, was learning how much money the CIA has invested in remote viewing over the years. The CIA is not spending millions and millions of dollars on some crackpot bullshit that's not going to work. They would for a little while, but they've been doing it and doing it and doing it. And now we've got disclosure from people that are coming out whistleblowing that they are doing it today. And I'm in the program, and this is how we did it.
Have you listened to the telepathy tapes?
I've listened to a little bit of them. I've not
I
listened
had
all the
Kai
way
Dickens
through.
on the podcast the other day, and she explained the whole thing, like provable. Hours and hours and hours of nonverbal autistic kids who have
Yeah.
telepathy, provable telepathy, undeniable,
It's crazy,
100%
dude.
accuracy, wild.
Yeah. And I
Wild
suspect
stuff.
that all of that is, and there's a weaponization of it. There's I mean, it's not just public study of it. There's definitely been private study of it by the intelligence agencies and probably the weapons developers for a long time. I mean, I was very surprised to hear Elon's answer to your alien question the other day, which I understand that he probably couldn't talk about it anyway.
That's how I take all of his answers about
Yeah.
aliens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like,
Okay.
nice try. I had to try.
All right.
But like,
and
there's
look,
no
I don't even.
way.
I don't ask him about it off air either.
Yeah,
I don't.
I mean,
like,
you got to
okay.
respect a man's like private. Like he's got NDAs up the wazoo for that kind of shit.
Also, he has top secret military clearance, and he runs SpaceX.
Bingo.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Bingo.
I wouldn't say jack shit.
And
Like,
that's where flat Earth
they're
comes
all
in.
real. They're very subtle. That's
Yeah.
what I would say too.
Exactly. And I think that flat Earth, a lot of the evidence that gets cited as flat Earth, like, for example, NASA fakes footage. And if you look into it, it's fucking obvious that NASA is putting out fake footage. They're clearly on wires in some of that footage. Clearly some of that footage is underwater and there's bubbles fucking floating up and shit. But
Which
that,
footage? Do you
just
see
like
bubbles?
NASA publishes all kinds of footage, from like the ISS to they have live streams to they do like videos, and no one ever watches it because like whoever watches random
So you
NASA
think some
footage,
of the ISS footage is fake?
there's a lot of footage you can find online that is coming from NASA where there's like little slips, or like a guy is like they're doing their floating shit and then the buddy reaches out and grabs where a wire is to help his buddy get back into frame, like little slips of the mind where they're like just trying to orchestrate. Yeah, there's and
I've never seen any of that.
and who knows
I've
if
seen
it's
the moon
who knows if
landing
it's
footage
real
that
or
looks
not.
hokey.
Yeah, so all I'm saying is that gets cited by flat earthers as like NASA's covering up flat Earth.
Okay.
And what I'm saying is that there's a lot of reasons why NASA would cover up and produce fake footage from something like the ISS, and every single one of them rhymes with aliens. Because if there's any type of aliens going on up here, it's very possible that they are up there in that fucking space station, or they're
What?
or like they could be, like I don't know. And I'm not saying I think they are for sure. I'm just saying that people tend to look at a piece of evidence and jump too quickly on the one explanation that they're sure is right. And sometimes there's other explanations. And aliens apply to so many parts of our world, like demons. Sound very much like the UAP phenomenon to me, right? A lot of these religious beliefs sound very much like explainable just with different wording by UAP phenomenon. As in, some of these aliens, we seem to be being told that they communicate telepathically. They have energetic ability, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting to the point where I'm suspecting that we're gonna be finding out that religion is like humans trying to interpret these phenomenon over millennia in all the human ways we would, and telling stories about them. And I'm not saying that God's not real. I'm saying God is real, and that does not diminish God at all. I almost think it makes God more important and more powerful to understand, because from my understanding, correct me if you have a different one, it sounds like we're getting a lot of reports that are cross-corroborating that there's more than one thing going on here. It's not all aliens are the same, and it's not some of them might be us from the future, some of them might be us from under the water, some of them might be other species. It's really hard to pin down like what all these phenomenon are, but they're definitely not just made up.
And I think some of them are ours.
I agree.
I think,
Yeah.
and that I think the cover up is the weird part, though. It's like if you go back to Operation Blue Book, when they started doing that, the sole purpose of Operation Blue Book is to take any credible story and make it look ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they talked about that openly. And then Hynek, when he left Operation Blue Book, became a believer. How'd you link up with Kanye?
Man, he was looking for me right when I walked off the field.
Really?
Yeah, they was calling me Justin LeBoy, like calling me in New York, like, yo, Kanye want to meet you. I ended up flying to L.A. with to meet Rich with Fashion Nova, and we met right in Craig's, randomly in Craig's, but he was looking for me in L.A., and after that, ended up hanging with him, making his album, Down to Two. And,
Wow.
Just getting opportunities, so
That's
I'm
crazy.
blessed to be able to have that happen for me, you know.
What is it
coming
like
off the
working
field.
with Kanye? Because I got to imagine
Kanye,
that
a
motherfucker's
lot of energy,
driven.
genius. Meetings at 8 o'clock, all the music.
8 a.m. or 8 p.m.?
8 a.m.
Really?
every day, yeah.
Really?
All the engineers there, everyone on the team.
That's unusual. Rappers at 8 a.m.?
Kanye is really a business guy who put in a lot of work. I know a lot of people see his rants and him going off, but he's really passionate about his work. And
He's a genius.
yeah,
He's just scattered. He's all over the place, and sometimes he goes a little out off the reservation.
I feel like he
but-
think in a lot of forms.
Yes.
So many areas he like to think. So
You don't make music like that consistently unless you got a very different mind.
Nah, he's
that
real
dude has a
creative.
very different mind. All of his
Yeah.
shit. He doesn't have one bad
Yeah.
album.
he's
His
real
new
creative.
album's not getting enough love.
Yeah, because I feel like people want to know where is he at. Like, where is he at?
He's
Physically
killing it
switch-
still.
Nah, he's
His
still
music
killing it.
is killing it.
Nah,
This
he's-
new shit is killing it.
Yeah, he's-
I wish he didn't sell swastika t-shirts on his
Yeah.
website, but
Yeah, that's
he
the honor.
does that to fuck with people. He does that to fuck with people.
Yeah,
like,
he loves
that's
it.
part of the fun
That's
of being
part of the
Kanye.
marketing. Yeah,
Yeah, it's part of the fun of being Kanye. He's getting
Yeah.
people to talk about him. He puts an ad on the Super Bowl, and you go to the website, he's selling swastika t-shirts. Like, what the fuck?
the hell is this?
It's so crazy, but the music is undeniable. Over and over and over again, it's undeniable. Every album, doesn't have one dud. They're all bangers. They're all bangers.
All fire.
And the new
all
one, after all
gas.
the shit he's been through, the new one is a banger. We play that shit in the green room all the time.
Yeah, he's all
It's a
gas.
banger.
Yeah, he's all gas.
All gas, no breaks.
Yeah.
But 8 a.m. meetings for rappers is
Yeah.
very unusual.
I mean, he's more than a rapper. I think he's just a creative genius. He makes
Yeah.
beats. He's in fashion, shoes.
Right. Of course. Yeah.
Just creative, lucrative, man. I feel like he's really passionate about.
Yeah. The rap is just one extension of his creativity. Yeah, he can do whatever the fuck he wants.
Yes.
I just wish he would stop selling swastika t-shirts.
He got to calm it down. I told him. I told him God is love.
Calm it down.
Yeah, I told him God is love, man. You know, he's a really in tune spirit with God. So I told him, man, God is love, be love.
Well, you know what I think? I think Kanye feels attacked, and when he feels attacked, he fires back. Yeah. And then you develop this antagonistic relationship with the media, with some of your fans, you know, with all the people that are upset at you.
Yeah.
You know, he feels like cornered and attacked and not appreciated, and then he fires at people and starts saying wild shit, and then puts masks on, and he just. Well, he's a brilliant fucking guy.
Yeah, he's amazing.
When he came to do the podcast, unfortunately, at the time, Jamie caught COVID. It was like the early days, and Jamie couldn't be here. So we wound up doing it in my studio. But what he wanted to do was build a studio that looked like a womb.
Now he loves like settings and how stuff looks, shapes, designs. He probably send 100 images every day, just different designs.
Yeah, he sent me sketches and shit of what he's working on.
You should see his workout. Like he draws on work, like a whole comic
book of his workouts?
But his workout, like he got it's retarded. He's just so it's crazy.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's how you become a guy that's that successful in so many different areas.
He's just creative genius.
You have to be driven.
You gotta be driven, man.
Yeah.
You gotta get on that bike and exercise that cardio. Like he's
right.
He got that agility. He got that agility just up and on it.
Yeah. But I feel like that kind of brain though is like a Ferrari engine.
Yeah,
like you got to know how to handle that. Yeah. You got to know how to handle that thing. Or you're going to go into the woods. You're going to spin off the road and hit a fucking tree. And that's the problem with a guy like Kanye. It's just like his brain has more horsepower than the average brain. And, you know, he's on a road where everybody else is going 35 miles an hour. And he's like, get the fuck out of my way.
Yeah.
You know, because he's got that Ferrari engine. Yeah. But that engine, you will spin out. The tires won't hold. Yeah, you will take a corner too fast. Yeah, you'll go sideways.
Yeah, this is the crash out bucket right here.
Yeah, what's with the helmet?